guys. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about books. As you can see here, I just grabbed so many books from my little area that I want to talk to you guys about today. So I thought that I would let you guys know what's on my TBR list, at least in physical form, because my actual TBR list is insane and I just keep adding to it on Goodreads. There's just so many books I want to read, and I'll let you guys know what I'm currently reading. I have been absolutely loving reading. Unfortunately, I just got a new job, and transitioning to my new job has been taking up a lot of my time, obviously. And so I haven't been able to read as much. And at my job, I don't have a very long lunch break like I did at my past job. So my reading has slowed down a smidgen, but I have learned that if I just bring my book with me everywhere, whatever book I'm reading, that every 15 minutes, if I'm waiting for someone, or I went to the DMV yesterday and I was at the DMV for 5 hours, I can read, so I just have been bringing my books with me everywhere and getting more reading done that way. Let me organize this pile really quick. Okay, so this book right here is a book that I just finished, the Shatter Me series, book 1. And let me tell you, why the first book of a series always so hard to get through? I just don't understand. I feel like they know that they have more books coming, so they make the first one so descriptive and so just extra that it's hard to get through. So this is a book I was reading during my transition of my new job and just really not having any time to read. And then it was not the easiest to read, and I was just like, are you kidding me? So this took me a month to read. And let me tell you, I can read a book in 3 hours. So I was just like, but literally the last maybe 20 pages, I was like, now I see why this series is so good. And I kept sticking through it because I've heard that the series is so good. So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna keep going. And then the last 20 pages really made it worth it. And I chose this book because it was a little bit out of my comfort zone. And so I have been reading a lot of romance books, and I wanted to try something a little bit different, something that challenges me and my creativity, the creative side of my mind. And this is fantasy. And so I figured that trying a fantasy book would be something great for me to do. And then so I chose something that's super popular. And this book, it's basically, I'll tell you, just because if I don't say anything, then you're the one thing that you get out of this book, I feel like, is the ending, and which leads to the series. And so basically there's this girl who has powers, and she's trying to learn about it. She knows nothing about it. They can be lethal, they cannot be lethal. She doesn't really understand her powers yet. There's basically this bad guy who also, this is at the end of the world times, and they're trying to kind of figure out how to live life again. And crops aren't growing as well, animals aren't growing as well, so they're just trying to survive. And basically there's this guy trying to take over the world, but he's clearly not a good guy, and he tries to captivate her, or capture her, what's the right word? And he wants to use her powers for not good, and she's just hell no, I want to be a good person, I don't want to do this. So she escapes, and she escapes with this one guy who's a guard. And there's a lot of twists. I guess you could say, now that I'm thinking about it, at the end there's a couple twists that I don't want to tell you, that it's worth reading. And then they end up, I feel like I had to say this part, and this is the end of the book, so this is kind of a spoiler, so if you don't want to know, fast forward past this part. But she basically ends up getting to this place, she escapes from the bad guys area, and she finds this place where there's other people like her, other people with other powers, and a leader of that area, where he basically wants everyone to learn their powers and use it for good. And it almost gave me X-Men vibes, when they are in the school, and Xavier is the teacher and all that type of stuff, and they're learning how to use their powers, and then it's all for good. So it kind of gives me X-Men vibes. And it's super exciting, and I was just like, oh my gosh, she's gonna learn how to use her powers. I can't wait to see her learn how to use her powers. I can't wait to see more about like other people and their powers, and then like how they can use this to like stop this bad guy, hopefully. And then there's like the guard that she escaped with. There's like some romance with that. I don't want to say more because like I don't want to give too much away, but like that's exciting to know where that goes. Yeah, basically by the time I got through this book, it was worth it, but it was hard to get through the beginning of this book. But I definitely think it's worth it. I cannot wait to read number 2. I've gone to Barnes and I tried to find the series, and I have to go to this one Barnes & Noble 30 minutes away from me to get it. And yes, I could easily order it, but like I like the experience of going to Barnes & Noble. So my boyfriend and I are going to that Barnes & Noble tomorrow, so I'm going to pick that up. And then also I'm going to pick up another book, but I'll tell you guys once I get to my TBR list. Highly recommend the Shatter Me series. I'm super excited to continue reading it, and you guys let me know if any of you guys are reading it and how you love it, because like, man, like I think about this book all the time. I just like can't wait to learn more about it. So anyways, love this book. It was hard to kind of get through the beginning, but totally worth it. And then I'm also currently reading right now Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. So I was trying to decide what book do I want to read next, and I was just like, this book, Shatter Me, was so hard to get through for in the beginning. I keep making it sound bad and then it's good. So like, just actually read it, like go through it. It's worth it, I promise. But it was just like a little bit challenging for me, which I wanted a challenging book. I was like, let me pick something a little bit easier. So like my go-to is Colleen Hoover. Y'all already know that. And let me tell you, I'm about halfway through this book. You can see my bookmark right here, and this is my little reading light. And this book is so good. It's basically about this girl who grows up in a not so good environment. Like, it's really not good. Like, her mom's an addict. She lives in a trailer park, but she gets a full ride to Penn State for volleyball. And basically, I'm gonna say this, there's a reason why she ends up having to go live with her dad. Her dad is not trash, he's pretty good, but they don't have a close relationship. And her dad is pretty well off, and they have a beach house, and she gets to spend the summer with him. And it's definitely YA. So yeah, she's on her way to college soon, but it's the summer before college. She ends up having like a little romance with this guy, and you know, they're just living their beach life, you know, in summer, just graduated high school. She has a stepsister, the stepsister has a boyfriend, and it's just like fun, easy, like, you know, you remember that time when you like were in high school, just graduated high school, you're just living life, small little problems, but also she's pretty deep, you know, like her mom was an addict, like she has a lot that she's gone through. The guy that she ends up having like a little fling with, I don't want to say fling because I don't know yet, it's like halfway through, but he's also been through a lot too, but on a different spectrum. Like, to generalize it, she's been through a lot on the poor side, and like and he's been through a lot on the rich side, but both parents have been kind of non-existent, and so they really bond through that. I'm still reading it, but it's really good. I did not expect to like this book as much as I like it, but I truly really like this book a lot. Definitely recommend. Still working on reading it, and then at the same time I'm also finally reading Tomorrow, which I told you guys about in my last video. But my bestie is her and I are like making our own little book club, and we are trying to read books together, and so this is the one that I recommended we read together. This is about 2 video game creators who kind of have some sort of romance. I'm literally only on page 4, so I don't know, but I've heard really good stuff about this book, and my bestie loves video games, and so I figured this would be a good book for us to start reading together. So I started this book so I can read at the same time as her, but I'm also trying to finish Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. So that these are my current reads right now. I'm able to fly through Colleen Hoover. Like, I read this in a couple of hours. Like, it's really easy for me to read her books. And like I said, I literally had 15 minutes and I read 4 pages of this book. So I will update you guys on how I like this book, but I'm excited for it. I'm excited. I love romance, and this is a different kind of romance. Everybody I've seen that rated this book has said such good things about it. They're like, they don't really know how to describe it, but it's really good and just kind of not what they were expecting. So yeah, excited for these books. Also, the Shatter Me book 1, I'd probably rate this if I was to just rate the ending, I would probably rate the ending like a 4 stars. But the book altogether, I'd probably say like a 3.5. But leading into the series, I feel like the series is gonna be like a 5 star. If that makes any sense. I don't know, it's rough. If you've read series, you understand sometimes the first book is hard to get into, but the rest of the series is just amazing. I feel like in fantasy, they like to build up the world a lot, is what I've heard. Like I said, I'm still a newbie reader, but that's what I've heard, and I feel like that's what they had to do there, which, let me tell you, like, I know I can picture the world so well in my head because of it, but do I think it was necessary to take that long to get to the point? I don't think so, but also I'm an impatient person and I can get bored easily, so I think it just depends. Like I said, I think it's a really good book. I can't wait to get number 2 tomorrow. I'm gonna end up reading 3 books at one time. I know, I'm crazy, but I just love all the stories. I can't not finish Heartbones. Book club is tomorrow, and then like I am ecstatic to start Shatter Me. Or actually, I forgot what the second one is called, but the second book of that series. I have my TBR list, so I just realized I talked about this in my last video, but The Paris Apartment, I heard was a really good thriller that I probably will read next, just so I can throw a different genre into my books that I've been reading. And this is about a girl who is, I think she's like house sitting at this apartment, and she finds out a whole bunch of things while she's living there. Don't know really much more about it, but I heard good things and I'm excited to read it. And then another book, The Forever Never. I don't remember if I talked about this in my last video or not, or if I just said that I wanted to get it, but I heard the story was really good as well. I heard lots of good things about Lucy Score, so I grabbed this book. And then another book by her that I grabbed was By a Thread. This is a workplace romance, and I heard it was really good stuff, like kind of like about this girl who she's born into this company and she kind of is just doing whatever she wants, and you know, the boss, I think, is like, you know, trying to tell her like you can't do this, but she's born into the company, and then there ends up being some sort of romance. I don't know, but I heard this book is really good. And I also heard Lucy Score by Sarah Caroli. She really likes this author, so I really trust her reviews. So far they've been all really good, and we kind of like the same style of books. Although she's in her fantasy era, I'm not all the way there yet. I think Shatter Me is like the closest I've gotten to it, but she talks really highly about Lucy Score, so I have these 2 books on my TBR list. And then another Lucy Foley book. I'm sorry if I talked about this in my last video, I can't remember, but The Guest List is another thriller that I heard that's really good from her, so I grabbed this too, and I'm super excited to read this. I don't know too much about it, but I heard really good things, so I'm excited about that. And then I did talk about this in my last video. I said I was going to grab this book 1 of the series, A Good Girl's Guide to a Murder. There's 3 of them. I see them at Target all the time, but I told myself, like, read one and then you grab the next one and then grab the next one, or else I'm just gonna keep buying books and never read them. So excited to read this too. It's just for me, it's like now at this point is like finding time to actually read. So my TBR list is piling up and I don't have as much time to read, so I'm trying to fit it in because I truly want to read all of these books, and then I have more that I want to read. So I feel like making this video is holding me accountable to reading all these books, and then I can come back and rate them and let you guys know how I like them. And I don't remember if I talked about this in my last book, but it's called If He Had Been With Me. I heard it's a YA romance, and that they are kind of like younger and it's easier to read through, but it's kind of sad. And I don't know, sometimes it's nice in between like thriller books or books that are a little bit harder to, I don't want to say harder to read, but not as easy to read. It's nice to have, I feel like for my sanity, to have like an easy romance to read. And I know this is sad, but still I feel like romance is easy for me to read. And I don't mean easy, when I say easy, I mean in the sense of like I can fly through those books. I don't know why I can just fly through them. Other books, I feel like I sometimes reread a page or reread a paragraph so that I make sure I'm fully there with the story and I can picture everything. But these like romance books, I don't know why I just get it on the first read. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have to reread anything and just like it's easier for me personally. So another book that I'm excited to read. And then I didn't realize that when I picked this up from Target that it's a 3-book series by Colleen Hoover. So I've been on the hunt to get the other ones for it. So I finally got Slammed, which Slammed is the first one, and then Point of Threat, I think it's what it's called. I'm sorry. I will pop a picture up and let you guys know what the second book is, and that comes in between these, and then This Girl's the third one. So once I get that second book, I'll read this series. And again, it's Colleen Hoover, so it's another one that I like to wash my palette with in between other books. So I don't want to like read all of her books at once. I kind of am saving them in between other books. So yeah, that is the next series that I'll read. And then I think that's it. I have more books on my TBR list, but I just wanted to show you guys like the books that I have in person with me. And kind of just show you the books that I have in my actual little library ready to read next, and that I'm super excited to read. If you guys love any of these books, if you guys have read them, let me know. I would love to talk with you guys about these books. It's so fun to read, but it's even more fun when you find somebody who's reading the same books as you and you guys can talk about it together. So I hope that some of you guys are reading these books and we can talk together. And I think I talked about this in my last video as well. I would love to have a virtual book club one day and we all read the same books together, not just me, my one friend, which is great. I'm super excited about it. But yeah, I am excited for those. Oh, the other TBR book that I have is the Magnolia Parks. Dude, Sarah Caroli talks so highly of this book. It is basically kind of like a Gossip Girl type of book is how she explains it. And there's this very like toxic relationship, and meaning like they want to be together, but he can't get it together. Like he keeps doing things where, of course, she's not going to go and be with him type of book. And it's just like this strong connection, but one keeps messing up, so then it doesn't work out. And this like back and forth type of book where I'm just like kind of really captivated by it. So I just like intriguing books. I like books that keep me like flipping pages and just like in there, because when it comes down to it, like reading is my escape. Reading is what I choose to do on my very little amount of downtime. And I want it to be really good. I want it to be captivating, right? Like a lot of people like to watch shows and they're like, yes, like this show is really good and blah, 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 like caught their attention. But like for me, I personally like to read a book and create my own show in my head, and if it's not really captivating, it's kind of hard to do that creation. And I just feel like that book is gonna do it for me. The way that she said like 5 stars, it's 5 stars, is like I need that book. And again, it's only at the Barnes and Noble 30 minutes from here, and we're gonna be in that side of town tomorrow, so I'm super excited. I'm gonna get that book. I'm gonna look for the second book of that Colleen Hoover series of the Slammed series, and then I'm also gonna get number 2 of the Shatter Me series. I was gonna buy all 7 books, but I was like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna like this series or not. But like for some reason, I'm truly interested into it. And you know what? That just shows that the writer did a good job. Even though it took me a little bit to get into it, she really like made me want to know more. And then when I got a little bit, I was like, hello, I need to know more, like give me more. So she really like captivated me in that. And then I'm just gonna look around and check out my Goodreads TBR list on there and see if there's anything that I want to buy. But those are the 3 main books that I want to get tomorrow, and I may take you guys along with me if I remember, but if not, just know I'm grabbing those books and I can't wait to read them. Anyways, I think that's all I have for you guys today. I love reading so much, and I love making these videos for you guys and just like talking about books. I feel like I'm gonna get better at rating these books and kind of like telling you a little bit more about each book. I'm trying to figure out how do I talk about a book without spoiling a book. So just be patient with me. I'll get there. I'll get really good at it. But until then, I'm just talking about how exciting books make me feel and how happy reading makes me. And I know there's a lot of you guys out there. I didn't realize how big of a world of like readers there are out there, and yeah, I totally get it. And I think that's all I have for you guys. So I hope you guys have a good day. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Write me in the comments. Let me know any like suggestions of any books that you guys like and you suggest that I read too. Until then, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.